So not only is there a lot of traffic, but you also have the jets and the helicopters. Maybe if you've got itty bitties, might not be right for you, or if you want them to get super used to white noise, that kind of thing, maybe that is for you. Yeah.
Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. My name is Jordan Beck.
And I'm Elytra Beck.
And together we're around the world of Beck. And if you're like us, we had no idea where we wanted to live when we first came to England. We did know we had to be close to the base, which in our case was RAF Lakenheath. But there are a couple other bases, with the other notable one being RAF Mildenhall and
Feltwell's not too far away too.
Yes. So we're going to go ahead and be listing and talking about what we know about the towns that most people choose to live in. So go ahead and start us off with number one.
Yes, so we're going to be talking about 4 different main areas. The first one is Bury St Edmund. I know it's spelled like Bury. It's not pronounced like that. It's Bury St Edmund. Yeah, like that. So that one is where a lot of people, I think, tend to live, especially if you really like the military community kind of thing, because there are so many people that are associated with the base populace that choose to live in Bury.
I think it's also the biggest town that has the most to offer, like as far as like
I would say reasonably close. Yes.
Yeah.
I would. Yeah. Like there's always something happening. There's always like clubs that people go to, bars that are open, events that are happening. So Bury is very much a happening place. Google Maps puts it at about 26 or so minutes from the base. I would say in all reality, especially in the winter when it starts getting dark and foggy, and yeah, it'll be dark to and from the drive to the base. I would say probably closer to 35 minutes or so. It's always going to be a longer drive than it says on Google Maps, but yeah, I mean, still relatively close. I feel like 30 minutes for a happening town life isn't too bad.
There's about 41,000 people that live in the town of Bury, and it is considered the about the 20th most dangerous place in Suffolk.
However, Suffolk is relatively a very safe place to live. So grain of salt. It's not what I would consider like a dangerous town by any means, but crime does happen. A nice thing about Bury is that there is a train that can be very handy.
Yes, I believe it does go all the way to London, which definitely helps with going out of the UK if you need to do that, being able to travel Europe, all of that.
And I would say another thing that gives Bury major points is the fact that their Saturday weekend markets are killer.
Yes.
They are so good. If we are choosing to go to a market, we will drive out of our way to go to Bury's market because it is massive with so many options, and yeah, I really, really like it.
The town is located near Thetford Forest, which is a beautiful area. There's a Go Ape high treetop adventure course there. It's beautiful to walk around, so you do have easy access to that. And technically you are more to the right side or the east side of the base, so it would technically be closer to the coast as well.
I would say overall, I know a lot of people that live in Bury and they really like their experience. There was actually a house just on the outside of Bury that we had been looking at, and somebody just snatched it before we could. So I don't think we would have been unhappy living there. However, that's not where we ended up.
Yes. Yes, so that does bring us to point number 2, which is actually where we live, and that's going to be the town of Ely. So this town is small, but while it is small, it offers just enough to get by and just enough to see. It has a very popular attraction in the area, which is going to be Ely Cathedral. It's a very beautiful cathedral. I know lots of different spouses that sometimes will go and do couples photos near the cathedral. They'll go and check it out. It's definitely worth visiting.
However, it's a bit further from base.
It is.
So Google Maps puts it at 33 minutes away. More accurately, I would say we technically live in Littleport, which is just outside of Ely, a little tiny bit closer. I would say on a good day, it probably takes me about 35 minutes to get to work, probably closer to 40, 42 when it starts getting dark and you have to start slowing down. Plus, it is pretty much all country roads getting you to and from the bases. So not too bad, pretty much a straight shot, but
there is a nice leisure village just outside of Central Ely.
Between us and
which
Ely.
if you do live, anywhere outside of Ely or in Ely, you have the option of going to it relatively easy. You also have the train station, which is located, I'd say, South Ely. That does connect to major spots all over the UK with a direct line going to King's Cross.
Yes.
You can even connect in Peterborough to head north to Edinburgh or different parts.
Yeah, and the train system being what it is in Ely is one of the big reasons that we decided to live here, in addition to the cathedral. Honestly, we saw it and immediately it felt like we were going to be living like near Hogwarts. It still takes my breath away every time I see it. So if you are going to be in and around the Suffolk area, go and see the Ely Cathedral. It is gorgeous. I cannot push it enough.
Yes.
But it is a pretty small town. It's only about 18,000 people that live there. So considerably smaller than Barry or Cambridge or anything like that. And then the crime rate is also on the lower side. And I think that has a lot to do with the fact that there's just not as many people there. And it is very much like small town vibes. They do have markets there as well, but I would say the thing that Ely really has on the other nearby towns is the Christmas market.
Ely Cathedral Christmas Market is definitely something to check out. We did it only the first year that it was pretty much available because COVID happened, and then we were just busy. But it is worth checking out. It runs for quite a while. You can go. There's food, vendors. Great time.
And another reason why we chose the Ely area versus other places is, one, the housing options were just a little bit more variety. We were able to get a much bigger house for our cap than if you're living in the heart of Barry or one of these other towns. So that was a big plus. And then additionally, there's not military near us basically at all. There might be like one other person. I never see right-hand drive cars, or left. I never see left-hand drive cars or people in uniform or anything like that in this area, which is really what we wanted. We wanted to feel like we were living in England.
And that's one thing that you'll notice as well, at least what we think, is the further you get away from base, the more nicer the houses seem to be, more updated. This area is more developed.
Yeah, we definitely live in
a
newer build.
Yeah, newer build.
Which kind of brings us to the next grouping of places, which I didn't put a specific town, but this is going to be things like Beck Row, Red Lodge, the places that are right next to the base. Like the houses border the base area. Your drive could be anywhere from, I have a friend that lives literally 1 minute outside of base to 10 or 15 minutes, depending on traffic, depending on road closures, that kind of thing. That whole area is only about 5,000 people, so it's pretty small. I feel like the people that choose those areas tend to be the ones that wanted base housing, but base housing had too long of a wait list or just no availability at all. So then they were like, next best thing, we'll live right here.
One of the bad things about having these houses that are right off base is the crime rate. And it just happens to be a little bit more targeted toward US residents. And I don't know if that's because that's who make up the majority of the people that live near base or if it's targeted specifically. I know that there are some issues because these people know that Americans are going to go to base and that they're going to be there for a majority of the time, and they might have some technology which might be a little bit pricier here that they can resell. So it's something to be expected and something to look out for, and weighing that comparison.
Yeah, I would say another downside to that as well is that Monday through Friday from about 7 to 9, and then again from about 3 to 5, the traffic is going to be absolutely horrendous because there are really, for Mildenhall, there's only one entrance and one exit to that base. So like, if that's where you're at, like that's what's happening. And then Lakenheath has 2 gates that you can go in and out of, and I think another one that you can just go out of. So, I mean, very, very concentrated traffic in those areas. And currently, as we speak, they are redoing the strip that goes between Lakenheath and Mildenhall, and they've completely shut it down during certain hours, and that has made it extremely high traffic volume on different roads that are now compensating.
And if you are living just outside of Lakenheath, for example, and because of the childcare situation that's currently happening on both bases, if you have a spot on Mildenhall, you do have to take all the way around. Whereas if you live somewhere out here, as you head towards the base, you can have that option to split off. I mean, you eventually will have to take the back road, but if you are in a hurry and it is early in the morning, that's probably one thing you don't want to have to worry about is, oh, is traffic going to be difficult? Or, oh, am I taking the right way? Is all it take that into consideration.
Another thing as well is, while there might be the occasional market or the occasional event happening, there's not really that much for that area because it's mainly roads just kind of going to and from. There's not like, I would think of like a classic town or village here. So that's not really a thing. And then there's not really train options. You have to go to one of the nearby towns if you're wanting to take the train. So if that's important to you, I would say something to keep in mind.
I think if you live in Lakenheath, around that area, the village, Lakenheath proper, there's not really a store either. You have co-op as an option.
Yeah, that's true. But there's not going to be like a big Sainsbury's.
Yeah, and like, I mean, because you are closer to base, you can just go to the commissary on base. And it definitely, you know, you have your local shops, your local restaurants. And the same would be said in Mildenhall proper.
They have a Tesco.
They have a Tesco, they have a Sainsbury's. They do have those shops and restaurants as well. But you're still not having quite as many options because they both are small.
And one last negative thing I'm gonna say about this area, as you can tell, we very much weighed the pros and cons and decided that the convenience just wasn't worth it for us. But one last negative would be the noise pollution. So not only is there a lot of traffic, but you also have the jets and the helicopters, and like
helicopters are constantly going.
Lots of night flying.
It's, yeah.
So maybe if you've got itty bitties, might not be right for you, or if you want them to get super used to white noise, that kind of thing, maybe it is for you.
Yeah.
But I think you just have to weigh, like, is the convenience of being right next to the base better or not better than like traveling a little bit further and risking that commute time? But yeah, it's kind of whatever makes sense for you.
Number 4 is going to be Cambridge. It's definitely going to be the largest at 145,000 people. It's probably the closest thing you'll get to a city. Something a little bit more like the US, but you do have to sacrifice that commute time of...
It's about an hour.
Yeah, it's about an hour. We do know some people that live there. I think that's what you were going to say. Right?
Yep, it sure was.
Yep. So they do commit. We think they're a little crazy for that commute time, but hey, we totally understand why living in Cambridge would have its benefits. You have all the restaurants, all the places to see. You have all the universities.
That uni life.
Yeah, the uni life, the colleges right there, and so much activity as well. You also have a major train station right there in Cambridge that's going to have a direct shot to both Ely, King's Lynn. You have it all the way to London as well. So that's something that is also very valuable. You have many grocery shops and so on, but that commute time.
It's a little rough. And also partly because it's like a uni town and it is such a large population, it is considered the most dangerous place to live within Cambridgeshire. However, grain of salt, like I said, overall, like, crime rate is very low in the UK, especially compared to the US and, you know, at least certain places in the US. So I wouldn't let that scare you too much. We have many friends that live there and we've never heard anything egregious. It is so pretty there.
Yes, it is. We've been many times, and I'm sure as well, if you're looking for a more newer build or even an apartment style living, that's probably where you'll find it.
However, you're definitely not going to get as much bang for your buck when it comes to houses because it is like city life. Like same thing that you would get if you were going to like, I mean, not as drastic, but like New York City, like your dollar's not going to stretch as far in terms of getting like a bigger place. Like you're probably going to have to settle for something a little smaller unless you are quite lucky. But I know all of our friends that live in Cambridge are single people that very much like the nightlife, they like the culture, they like being around other people their age, which, you know, a lot of people we know are around that uni age range. So it might be something to consider that they like having the convenience of being in a place where they can network without, you know, making a point of it. So those are the 4 main areas that we want to talk about around the base. However, if you are very much looking for base housing, we did make a video right above that specifically walks you through what base housing looks like, and then the description of that video will show you the other floor plans on all of the bases. So if you're curious about base housing, we've got a whole video just on that.
But for the most part, base housing is a combination between UK life and US life. At least in the house, you've got voltage differences, but it is still like a mini America, which is something, if you're homesick, that is really valuable. There's all the amenities of being in the States as well. You've got easy access to grocery stores and movie theater. It's all right there. Everyone's kind of in the same situation that you are. You've got the added security, but the house wait is pretty long. And I think honestly, the biggest downside is going to be the fact that you do have to go off base and on base through security. So if you're wanting to invite friends or family, you have to go through the proper channels to get them on base. And then lastly is if you want any sort of delivery from Amazon, from a local provider, whatever, you have to arrange for it to be done. So here
you can meet them at the gate.
Yeah, so here we may have groceries delivered and it's no problem. They come to the door, end of story. On base, you have to arrange for a time and a pickup at a location and be there and hope that it all works out. Same with Amazon. It's really just kind of picking your preferences. What do you value more importantly when picking a house and here in the UK? And we would love to know where you're kind of leaning, or even what we've said, what your thoughts are. Do you agree or disagree? What are some things that you discovered when you picked where you lived? So
if you guys like videos like this, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below, or let us know what other questions you have about moving to the UK. We can answer them. We've been here for 3 years now, so I feel like we've gotten a fair, idea about the area and learning different things along the way. But thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.